Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into Ferrero Rocher. I don't know about you, but I can never resist those shiny golden wrappers. We've got some excerpts here from an article titled "The Ferrero Rocher Story: From a Small Bakery to a Billion-Dollar Empire."
Oh yeah, I read that one. It's really interesting, you know.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, it's kind of amazing how much there is to this story. You wouldn't think so, just looking at a little chocolate.
Right.
But it all starts back in post-World War II Italy.
Yeah, you've got this pastry chef named Pietro Ferrero in the town of Alba, and they're facing a big challenge.
Chocolate shortage, right?
Exactly. Chocolate is scarce, but there's one thing they've got plenty of: hazelnuts.
So what does he do?
Well, instead of giving up, he gets creative.
I like it.
He blends those hazelnuts with a little bit of cocoa and creates this new confection. He calls it indulgence.
Indulgence.
Yeah, it's not just some workaround, though. It was actually a really delicious and affordable alternative to chocolate, and it takes off in Alba. Crazy. People loved it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it becomes a hit. But what's really cool is this wasn't just Pietro's thing. His wife, Piera, was running the business side of things, and his brother Giovanni handled distribution.
Yeah, a real family affair from the get-go. They saw how much potential Gianduja had, and they worked together to, build it into something special.
The true team effort.
And even when Pietro died in 1949, Piera and Giovanni, they just kept going.
Wow.
Yeah, they weren't just running a business, they were carrying on his legacy.
It's powerful.
It is. And of course, this is where Nutella comes in.
That's right. They took that original Gianduja and refined it into the Nutella we all know and love.
Nutella.
Who doesn't love Nutella?
It's
great. It's a classic.
It is.
But the story, it doesn't end there. In the 1950s, Pietro's son, Michele Ferrero, he comes into the picture and he takes things in a whole new direction.
Yeah, Michele was, I'd say he was a visionary.
You think so?
Oh yeah, he really had this knack for figuring out what people would want before they even knew it themselves. And he was obsessed with quality.
Like everything had to be.
Everything perfect, yeah.
So how does this vision lead to Ferrero Rocher?
Well, in 1982, he unveils his masterpiece, Ferrero Rocher. He wanted to create something that wasn't just tasty, but luxurious.
Special.
And I mean, he did a pretty good job of it, right? You've got that whole roasted hazelnut in the center, then you get that creamy hazelnut filling, the wafer shell, all coated in milk chocolate. And to top it all off, those little chopped hazelnuts.
Yeah, it's a symphony of textures and flavors.
It's a whole experience.
And that's exactly what Michele wanted. He understood the presentation was key.
That's right. The golden wrapping, the pyramid shape.
It's more than just packaging. It's a statement.
It definitely elevates it. You're not just getting chocolate, you're getting
an experience.
An experience, yeah. It's like you're at one of those fancy parties in the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
With the Ferrero Rocher pyramids. Ambassador, with these Rocher, you are spoiling us. Brilliant marketing.
Right. They really nailed it.
They didn't just sell a product, they sold an idea.
And it worked. Ferrero Rocher took off all over the world.
Over 170 countries.
I'm curious, though, how did they manage to keep that level of quality when they were producing so much?
That's where Michele's obsession with quality control really shows. He knew that to maintain that premium image, they couldn't cut any corners. So he set these incredibly high standards for the entire supply chain.
Wow.
From the hazelnut farms to the factories.
So it wasn't just great marketing, it was a great product, too.
Exactly. And that's something anyone building a brand should remember. Quality matters.
You can't just talk the talk.
You got to walk the walk.
And Michele Ferrero definitely walked the walk.
Oh, yeah, he did.
But they didn't stop there. They went on to create so many other iconic treats. Kinder Chocolate, Tic Tacs, Kinder Surprise Eggs.
All with that same Ferrero touch.
And that commitment to quality.
And that diversification was key to their success. They weren't afraid to try new things, explore new markets. But they never forgot those core values that Michele instilled in the company.
So from a small bakery in Alba to a global confectionery powerhouse, what a journey.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, how did they do it? How did they maintain that image of luxury and exclusivity in a market that's so crowded?
Yeah.
What can we learn from their success?
Those are some great questions, and we'll definitely dig into them when we come back for part 2 of our deep dive into the Ferrero Rocher story.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating question, isn't it? How do they maintain that sense of luxury in a world where there are just so many choices.
So many.
I know.
It's true. And I think a big part of it is that commitment to quality that we were talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
They could have easily cut corners,
Right.
to save some money.
But they didn't.
But they didn't. And I think people recognize that. Like when you unwrap a Ferrero Rocher, you're getting something
Special.
Yeah, something that someone put care into.
Yeah, it's that attention to detail. From picking the right hazelnuts to that beautiful packaging.
It all adds up.
It does. It's not just about the chocolate itself, it's about the whole experience.
And the marketing has always been so on point, too.
Oh, yeah.
Those commercials, the slogans.
They really created that association with Ferrero Rocher.
And
celebrations and indulgence.
Ambassador, with these Rocher, you are spoiling us.
Exactly. And they're not just advertising the chocolate. They're advertising the feeling you get when you eat one.
Like you're sharing a special moment with someone.
Creating a memory.
And it's interesting how they've managed to make it feel exclusive, but still accessible to a lot of people.
Right. It's not like it's priced out of reach for most people.
Which makes it even more special when you do have one.
Yeah, they've positioned it as affordable luxury.
I like that.
Like a little treat that you can enjoy.
A little everyday luxury.
Exactly. It's not about being the most expensive. It's about that feeling of premium quality.
That experience.
Exactly.
And all of that is rooted in their tradition. They're still using that same hazelnut recipe that Pietro Ferrero developed all those years ago.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It is. It shows you the power of staying true to your roots.
Even as you're growing and innovating.
Exactly.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
Between tradition and innovation.
They've introduced new flavors and variations.
But they haven't strayed too far from that classic Ferrero Rocher.
Which is smart, because people love that.
Yeah, they've really tapped into something timeless.
That desire for something sweet and indulgent.
And a little bit special.
Yeah. And they've done it while staying true to their family values.
And their commitment to quality.
Absolutely. So we've seen how they built this incredible empire.
Yeah.
From a small bakery to a global brand.
It makes you wonder, how have they adapted to the changing market?
Right. Consumers are more health conscious these days.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot more focus on sustainability and ethical sourcing.
It's a whole new landscape.
So how has Ferrero responded to all of that?
Well, they've actually been very proactive about it. They've invested a lot in research and development, looking into new ingredients and production methods that align with these new consumer preferences.
Interesting. Can you give us some specific examples?
Sure. All right, for one, they've been working to reduce the sugar content in some of their products. And they've also introduced lines with darker chocolate and more natural ingredients.
That makes sense.
And they've made some big strides in sustainable sourcing, especially when it comes to their hazelnuts.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so they're not just sitting back and watching the world change.
They're trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're anticipating those changes and finding ways to adapt.
While still maintaining that Ferrero Rocher quality.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
You have to innovate.
But you also have to stay true to what makes you special.
Absolutely. So it's a combination of factors that have led to their success. Their commitment to quality, their smart marketing.
And their willingness to adapt. But I'm wondering, what are some of the challenges they might face in the future?
Well, even with a strong foundation and a loyal customer base, there are always challenges.
Like what?
Well, the confectionery market is incredibly competitive,
That's true.
and consumer preferences are always changing.
It's a moving target.
It is.
Yeah.
So they'll need to keep innovating
Yeah.
and really understand those consumer trends.
To stay ahead of the game.
And they'll need to do all of that while still maintaining that premium image.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. They need to evolve, but not lose sight of what makes them unique.
I think they can do it.
I think so too.
They've already shown that they're adaptable.
With things like reducing sugar and sourcing their hazelnuts more sustainably.
So they're not afraid of change.
And they're willing to listen to their customers.
Which is important.
It is. So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of those potential challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for Ferrero Rocher.
Sounds good.
And we'll also see what lessons we can learn from their journey.
From that small Italian bakery to a global empire.
It's an inspiring story.
It really is. You know, one thing that really stands out to me about Ferrero Rocher is that they've managed to stay a family-owned business. Even after all this success, it's pretty impressive.
It's definitely not the norm these days, especially for a company of their size.
It makes you wonder if that's part of their secret sauce.
I think it plays a big role. Staying private lets them focus on the long game, without the pressure from shareholders and quarterly reports.
So, like, they can stick to their own vision, without having to answer to anyone else.
Exactly. And it goes back to those core values we talked about: quality, tradition, customer focus.
Like a recipe that's been passed down through generations.
That's a great way to put it. And I think that's something that consumers pick up on.
That authenticity.
Yeah, there's a sense of integrity behind the brand. That's rare these days.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're not just selling you a chocolate, we're sharing a part of our family tradition.
That's a powerful message, especially in a world that can feel so impersonal.
Exactly. And that message is reinforced by their commitment to quality, like we talked about before.
They know their reputation depends on it, delivering a consistently great product.
They're not willing to cut corners.
Even if it means making a little less money.
Which brings us back to the challenges they face.
Right. Even with everything they've got going for them.
There are always obstacles.
The market's constantly changing.
What do you see as some of the biggest challenges for them going forward?
Well, like we said, consumer preferences are always evolving. And people are more aware of things like health and sustainability.
Right.
So Ferrero will need to keep adapting.
Without losing sight of their identity.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
They need to innovate, but not alienate their loyal customers.
Like they'll need to address concerns about sugar content and where their ingredients come from.
But they can't sacrifice that classic Ferrero Rocher taste.
That's a tough challenge.
But I have a feeling they'll find a way.
Me too. They've already shown they're willing to change.
Like with reducing sugar and sourcing their hazelnuts sustainably.
They're not afraid to experiment.
And they're listening to their customers.
Which is so important.
But it's not just about the product itself. They also need to stay relevant in the media landscape.
You're right.
Their marketing has always been so strong.
Those commercials, the taglines, they've really become iconic.
But the way people consume media is changing.
People aren't watching TV the way they used to. It's all about digital platforms now.
So Ferrero will need to find new ways to connect with people.
New ways to tell their story.
It's not just about product innovation anymore.
It's about marketing innovation too.
They need to keep experimenting and taking risks.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Ferrero Rocher, what are some of the big takeaways?
Well, I think the biggest one is stay true to your core values.
Even when you become successful.
Even when you become a global empire. Ferrero hasn't forgotten what got them here. Quality, tradition, customer focus.
And that comes through in everything they do.
It's about building a connection with your customers based on trust and shared values.
It's not just about making a profit.
It's about creating something special.
Ferrero Rocher has definitely achieved that.
They've created a brand that represents quality and indulgence.
And celebration.
And they've done it all while staying true to their roots.
It's an incredible story.
It really is. And it's full of valuable lessons.
For any business, big or small.
So next time you enjoy a Ferrero Rocher, take a moment to think about the story behind it. It's a story about vision and innovation and a dedication to quality.
I think I'll do just that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Ferrero Rocher. It's been a sweet journey.